I remember my first income, first month was 3K, then it went to 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, and within like a year I was making 300K a month. People wouldn't believe it. If you look at my bank account, you'll think I'm poor. I've got like 20,000 bucks in it. I have millions of dollars in Bitcoin and altcoins, so it's all just degent into crypto, and I kind of love it. I was an alcoholic. I was drinking almost every single day, and to the point of losing consciousness. I was arrested once for driving. I smoked like a pack or two a day of cigarettes. I was 120 kilos. I couldn't run a mile. Bad times in trading also contributed to more drinking. It was a show. And to be honest, like I thought I'm gonna die.
Being a trading podcast, obviously being in crypto, The halving's happened. We're going into 2025. I've heard you say Bitcoin to 1 million potentially. I think it was quoting Michael Saylor at the time. What are you looking at?
Right now, especially with Democrats, they're already losing. Are they gonna let the markets crash just to put the last nail into their own coffin? I don't really think so. Everything has always been dependent on money flow. And right now we're seeing all of this curve up. So like it has gotta happen. United states are buying Bitcoin. Larry Finn, $10 trillion asset manager, Bitcoin and Ethereum. How can it not go to, okay, a million? Of course it's gonna go to 1 million, it's just a matter of time. In my opinion, this is just the time. You know, honestly, it might sound controversial. Given that, my expectation now is
The number one podcast in the trading space, the fastest growing, and that's thanks to every single one of you. Welcome everyone back to the Words of Rizdom podcast. We are back once again, and we are still in Dubai in a very special location. And we are still the number one trading podcast in the world and the fastest growing thanks to all of you and our incredible guests. We have a very special guest with us today. He's a hedge fund founder. He is an investor. He is a crypto trader, and he has amassed over 1.5 million subscribers / followers on social media as well, spreading so much value. And today he's going to do the exact same with us. It is the one and only Thomas Kralow.
good to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much for coming by.
No, and thank you for hosting us. It's an incredible space. Absolutely incredible.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that's our Event Horizon headquarters. So it's we had to empty it to make sure that it's as quiet and as nice as possible.
I really appreciate it. I know Event Horizon, we're going to get into that. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to hear more about that. But just to start off with, I know a lot of the audience are going to know who you are and resonate with you and probably have followed you for a long period of time. But just for those who haven't, we'll keep it nice and brief because I know you've probably told the story many times. But let's get into like why trading as the thing that you started, but also like what did that journey look like in the beginning?
Yeah. I got into it about 10 years ago, but I got into it by just mere coincidence because my mother, I lived in the US at the time. I was living in upstate New York. I was going to school there. And my mother always told me, and she taught me that I must be a man in my family and I need to provide and I need to do my best to actually make lives for our family better, you know, because, and she thought that the best way of doing it is through traditional system because she didn't know any better. Nobody in my family actually has ever had any higher education at all. I'm the first one to hold a bachelor's degree, which has been quite useless, but nonetheless. And I always was striving for what my mother told me, you know, because I grew up without a dad, so she was a dad and a mother for me. So she told me that, son, go become a lawyer because lawyers seem to be making good money, you know, so that's what I was pursuing. But I understood that you need to follow not just certain niche, you need to follow money. So if that's what your primarily goal is. So because of my mother, I met Alf, who is a Swiss/German national, who became my mentor in trading. And the reason why he's been, you know, into asset management and retail trading and futures and more, just TradFi, obviously back then, no crypto. And I've just seen how much money the guy has, which by my current standards is not that much, but at the time when, you know, I'm living from a $1 burger to another one, the frozen ones from Dollar Store, Dollar Tree or whatever it was called. So back then it seemed crazy. So when he told me that, Thomas, if you want to give up on your entire life in the US and come live in Switzerland for 6 months and learn, so therefore it was kind of free, not the way I learned, but at the same time I paid the biggest price. The price of my education was my life in America. It was my friends, it was my love, it was my future, it was my education, and so I had to give up on that entirely. And that's how my journey in finance actually began. I tried a little bit of trading when I was like a bit younger, 15, 16, 17 years old. But quite frankly, I quickly realized that it's all just is too hard. And you cannot really learn this anywhere, you know. So, yeah, to a certain extent.
So what was it about trading that gave you that conviction to as you say, leave everything behind? You know, to take this risk?
It wasn't trading. It was this person. I followed the person. I didn't follow just because I didn't really, at that time, I didn't really care what to do to make money. You know, I didn't really care if it was trading, if it was law, if it was becoming a doctor. It just had to happen. Whatever was the fastest route without hurting anyone, without doing any criminal activity, so I can actually sleep at night. What was the fastest route? And at the time, it just seemed that this guy showed up in my life. And most people would say no to his offer because they've been living in the US for so long and building a life. Even though a lot of people would say, oh, it was so easy for you. Most people would actually say no to his offer because you barely know the guy. You know, he's offering to, like, it's weird. And I felt weird. And I thought, if he's going to murder me, that's going to be fine. Like, maybe he's going to hit on me. I don't know. But he was kind of involved with my mother a little bit at the time. So I was hoping he wasn't gay. And he turned out to be a very nice guy. So, but it was, I had to do a lot. I had to sacrifice a lot to be there. But yeah, it's just, there is no other way. Somebody needs to show you the ropes, you know, because from what I've learned through trading is theory is one thing. But any trading is for the most part discretionary and subjective. So even though somebody can show you any strategy, liquidity, or cycles, whatever, but it's going to depend on you, how you execute your understanding of the market at any given point of time. So, and for me, it has been always, the key is mentorship and extended one.
What was your journey like in terms of that trading? Because as you mentioned, he wasn't doing crypto. His was more probably like futures or Forex or whatever it may be. But then, of course, like you've created your whole name and built so much within the crypto space. So when did crypto sort of come into your horizon?
5 years down the road. So I met my wife. I was a year, 2 years into my trading journey, which I barely started making sizable income and something that I could call good income. With crazy ups and downs. We can get into that. It's like how people portray trading these days on social media, futures, Forex, crypto, doesn't matter. They portray it completely differently from the reality of trading, which is, you probably know, which is very merciless, to say the least, and the most competitive business and environment you can imagine yourself putting yourself into. So for me, how I progressed through so many things is my wife of so many years, Sophia, she initially, when I met her in Latvia. She was a blogger. You know, she had social media, which I didn't believe in. Like I didn't even have Instagram. I started Instagram about 3-4 years ago, actually. And she was talking me into it. She was saying, do you understand that with what you're doing here, with trading or regardless of social media and people are the greatest asset you can accumulate over time. So crypto can crash down to zero, anything can happen, but people will still be there and you can always find a way to benefit those people and possibly just sustain your life somehow. So it is one avenue. So I didn't listen to her. I was like, yeah, if you're into trading, you're not going to be making content, you know, because you're too busy trading. I remember myself, my journey when I was really zoned into trading, which I'm not that much anymore. I just invest. But when I was with smaller capital, you need more risk, so that's why you're going to be trading. And I was trading mostly futures on major indices, DAX, S&P 500, Dow Jones, etc. And for me, it was a job of 12 to 15 hours a day.
Wow.
It was, I never believed, you know, I always dreamt of, you know, these people are showing on social media that you trade for 2 hours a day and then you just go ride in your Lamborghini. It's just fucking fluff. It never worked like this for me. Like, I was actually pretty big. Right now, I'm like 83 kilos. I used to be 120.
Wow.
And I would be pretty fucking miserable. I looked a lot older than I look now. If I show you some of my older pictures, I look like a 40-year-old man. And why that was? Because it was the only income source I had was trading. It worked for me with crazy ups and downs. And my nervous system was not shutting down, but it was not enjoying the process. So it was the first big money, but then my wife, she saw it, how I was spending really 12 hours a day at the computer for sometimes 6 days a week. On Saturday, the markets were closed, but the reason why I was doing it is just trading statistics or the cleanup and like all the things that actually matter in trading outside of the strategy itself.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they trade, they think they're good at trading, and maybe they are, but they don't even keep a trading journal. They don't keep any accounting. They don't do any of the things that professional traders do, which actually helps you to evaluate your trading performance and based on the findings, actually improve your strategy because the market is changing. It's fluctuating. The ATR can change, volatility can change, liquidity, ranges, and there's so many things. So if you don't pay attention to those differences, you can be caught off guard and reduce your performance by large amount of big percentage. 5, 6, 7, 10, which for most people, they won't even notice. But professionals, that's a big fucking difference. Yeah. So, and she saw how hard all that was, and that, you know, quite frankly, the first few years I enjoyed, but like year 5, 6, I started to understand why most traders don't make it, because of emotion and all this stuff. So that's why I started to open up to other possibilities of building cash flow, using my knowledge and scaling my participation in the market to the next level, which for me was what I could do as a retail trader, because again, all these dreams of taking 10K and turning into 5 million in 3 months, it's all for idiots on YouTube. So it just is not the reality, unless you're super lucky. But if you're that lucky, just go to the casino, you'll probably make more. You'll have more chances. So I don't want to make trading sound horrible. I just want to say exactly what it is, because not too many people are talking about the reality. So, and for me, yes, I was able to, my first million I did make from trading. It took me years. It wasn't fast. And I didn't start with $100. I started with $15,000. So it was still good upside, but my risk was still crazy. I almost blew everything a couple of times. So the fact that I made it is actually also partly luck. So I realized that for me to scale myself, I need to reduce risk. But if I reduce risk, I will reduce the return, obviously. So like making 15% a year is something that is actually not a bad return. Arguably, if you look at Wall Street and what they do in terms of portfolio management, it's not a bad return. But 15%, unless you're working with $1 billion or $100 million or something substantial, no fucking sense. That's why people gamble on futures, because nothing else makes sense. They're not interested in it. So, and I understood how can I raise a hedge fund? I didn't have rich parents. I didn't make hundreds of millions of dollars myself, because I didn't start with millions of dollars. So the only way for me was doing social media and trying to launch a hedge fund down the road, showing my performance, showing what I can do, my expertise, and then raise money for the hedge fund, which is what we did. And I launched my hedge fund actually not that long ago, about 3 years ago now. Kralow Capital, SEC-regulated U.S. hedge fund. Our main small office is in New York, and then a couple of companies. We have Florida and Delaware. So that went quite okay. It was still a lot harder to raise money than we initially thought, but social media helped. Like if it wasn't for social media and all other products, we also had educational products like courses and this, it all helped me to get to the point where I have 11 different income streams, and it just made even the trading journey easier, because you're not just reliant on one thing.
Like if you were to go back to the beginning, because there's a lot obviously to go through there, but like if you were to go back to the beginning, as you said, with social media, it allowed you to then open these different doors where you created 11 different income streams. If you were to go back to the sort of near the start of your journey when getting into trading, would you do anything differently?
Yes.
What would you do? Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Alpha Capital. Now, without our sponsors, it's not possible for us to host such incredible podcasts around the world and get the level of guests that we are getting. So again, thanks to Alpha Capital for sponsoring the podcast. Now, Alpha Capital is one of the best prop firms in the industry. So far, this year alone, they have done over $50 million in payouts, which is absolutely incredible. They have the very best infrastructure in place for longevity, from an in-house broker so they can offer the very best trading conditions and platforms that all traders love to use. They're still able to offer services to the US as well, so the US traders can still trade with them on particular platforms. They have institutional experience, so they know how to manage a prop firm correctly and have such an incredible team on hand. On top of which, they have both a pro and swing plan. So depending on your style and strategy, you can choose which one is best for you. Now you can use and get the highest discount available at anywhere using Riz25. So that's RIZ25 for 25% off all challenges. The link's in the description below. So let's get back to the episode.
I wouldn't do trading. You know, honestly, it might sound controversial, but I'm not, and just to be clear, I'm not against trading. I don't think it is impossible. I made my first million from trading, and that was my capital that then later on opened up other doors. But what I'm trying to say is that if I were to go back in time, and for example, I were to lose everything right now, would I just go back and would I start with trading? No. I would first, but trading would be a part of this journey, but not immediately. First, I would actually focus on social media. I'd build back up the following. I would get into affiliate marketing. I would promote product. Like one of my business, and I'm happy to admit it, I make like $300,000 to $500,000 a month from just Bybit.
Wow.
From commissions, because I have over $1 billion of trading volume on futures that I've brought to Bybit, just through social media. And I've invested nothing into it. Just my time and my content, mostly YouTube. Instagram is not as convertible into FTDs, first time deposits. So I've done it mainly through YouTube. And 2.5 years, I remember my first month was $3K per month. Then it went to 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, 300K. And within like a year, I was making 300K a month. People wouldn't fucking believe it. And it's something that I can stop doing it now. And I'd still be making this money as long as people trade. So I just get a commission. I don't make any money from liquidation, so I'm not interested in people losing money. What I'm interested in so that they keep trading and I get a slice of the commission. That's it. So going back to your question, I would first create cash flow. I'd first do whatever. You can do affiliate marketing, you can do arbitrage of, I don't know, online talent, you can do high ticket closing, you can do what there's so many ways for young people to make money online these days, as long as you have two brain cells to rub together and that you can actually fucking pay attention. So that's what we teach at the Game Changer, our like university, with 20 different topics of becoming the best version of yourself. So, and this is where I think my main turning point came to, you know, completely shifting my perspective of how I would approach building things back up. First, I would take care of the fundamentals, money coming in, affiliate marketing or any other way. And then I would use that cash flow and I would scale it via trading, via investing. And in this way, I think it is just the best thing. Because, for example, if you take crypto and you take bigger trades like I do, like right now I have like my Ethereum trade, my average entry price is like 2,700. So it's been underwater for like 700K at some point. Wow. And it's a multi-million-dollar futures trade. So, and my target is 12K. So my target, like once we hit the take profit, the profit, unless I scale the trade further, will be $7 million. Wow. Just on one trade. So, but for me to take these kinds of trades, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of time. Oftentimes people, even my followers, they did not sit through this entire year. We've been building this trade. I've been building it for the last 6-7 months. And a lot of people, they're so zoned in to such a short period of time that they cannot wait. They cannot be persistent. They cannot persevere in light of maybe their own circumstances in life. But generally speaking, when I'm looking at my trading, for example, and I see minus 700K, just because the market is going to the side for the last 240 days, or if it's altcoins, actually going down and to the side. So considering this and you're looking at your portfolio melting away, and you're just waiting for liquidity to kick in, you're waiting for Donald Trump to win, hopefully, you know, for just crypto's sake at least. And while you're in this waiting period, a lot of people just don't survive it. And that's why, you know, for me, I don't care. I have 11 income streams. I can be sitting on positions for years. And then I will just make bank. But once the market moves, I'll make millions, tens of millions. So I just, in a position of waiting. So, but to be able to afford something like this, you need to make money. You have to have money. You cannot worry about putting food on the table. So that's probably would be my best suggestion.
Do you feel like, you know, a large thing that you said there, I think, is the cash flow side. And I think, as you said, trading is so hard. And it's hard anyway, even when you have money. But when you have no money, which I think, as you said, like when it's trading's promoted online, it's promoted as this, as you say, like, you know, take 50K to $1 million or even 5K to $1 million, whatever it may be, like relatively quickly and easily.
I've seen bullshit like $100 to $1 million.
Yeah.
And people follow that crap.
Yeah. And, you know, it's things like that, as we say, is that people who haven't got the cash flow then start to get in. And then it's already hard anyway. But as you mentioned, like when you got to your first $1 million, there was a couple of times where you nearly blew up.
3 times, yeah.
And do you feel like that was because, you know, the cash flow wasn't there at the time?
It was part of it, just because psychology is so important here. Because when you're sitting there, and I remember myself, I had $15,000 that I started with. This was the money I saved up from my life in the United States from speculation. You know, I'd buy and sell used electronics Back then it was iPhone 4S, iPhone 5, I think at the time, something pretty old. I would flip MacBooks, and I would have like almost like a mini pawn shop at my house in Schenectady, New York. So, and people would bring me shit and sell it to me. It was and sometimes I could make like $5,000 a month.
Wow.
At the age of like 18, 17, 19, which is pretty cool. So, and I also helped my mother pay for my education and stuff. So, and back in the day, you know, it's like if you look at the numbers that I was making, and I had $15,000 to my name saved up because I also spent a lot and had parties and shit and did stupid stuff. So, and having these $15,000 and I've spent 6 months learning from Alf. And when I've started trading, you know, I've seen how easy it is for him. Even though he still lost money here and there, but overall it was pretty cool. And I've seen like his track record. I've seen him do it in front of me. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I started doing it, and we were like, you know, I was in my dreams that I'm already driving. Back then I wanted a Rolls-Royce Wraith. Mm-hmm. They were just coming out and they were so fucking amazing. And that was my dream. And when I even used it in my education as an example of the issue with psychology, that whenever I would lose even $1 of those $15,000, I didn't see it as a normal part of this job. I've seen it as a piece of Rolls-Royce wheel rolling away from me and distancing. Like, this is the world of expectations that just because of social media right now and how some coaches and people portray trading, this is what people expect. And even if you give them the right strategy, like my mentor Alf, he's been into this world of trading for like 30 years. So for him, he didn't even remember the way he started. So he told me that it's easy, you can do this slowly with this, manage the risk, and you will be okay. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why, you know, he painted this picture of easiness. But when you are actually starting yourself and you understand it's the only money you have and you need to make your mother proud or your family, your wife, it doesn't matter. And especially if you have kids or obligations, and you're trading with your last money and you need to spend a lot of time on this, so you're sacrificing possibly other income sources. Dude, that's hard. Like, the mistakes I've made just because of getting angry at the market, basic shit, over trading, revenge trading, it's all, everybody talks about it, but it's actually a reality. That's just what it is. Because like when I'm sitting right now, if I've made last month $1.2 million and I lose on a trade $100,000, do I give a shit? And do I really lose anything on trades? Not that very much. Just because I don't really I look at the market objectively. I don't look at it as I used to when it was my only income stream. I look at it as an instrument that actually has a possibility. It's like, I understand the market so well at this point that you cannot sometimes predict the smallest frequencies, but the general tendencies and directions, it's not that difficult to predict. And when you have money rolling in, you can sustain the pressure. Because the market, how does the market work? The market and all the bigger players on the inside, maybe it's whales, maybe it's market makers, maybe it's whatever, they're trying to squeeze you out. That's it. If you just play the psychological game outside of the liquidity analysis, geopolitics and all this technical analysis, even if you just trade based on reverse psychology of the mass, you can make it actually. And that's actually not a bad trading. Like, you're not going to trade a lot, because these kinds of capitulation events don't happen often. But when they do, you know there will be a reversal. Unless there is bigger threat on macro level. So you need to understand what is the reason for a dump. If you see Bitcoin goes from, for example, I don't know, 60K down to 50, you understand that the reason is again, fear because of bullshit in Middle East, which is kind of priced in already. So you can understand that it's not maybe something that is going to bring the price down to 30K. Yeah. You can take trades. Like, of course, it is like catching a falling knife. But sometimes when you understand the extension, that at some point there has to be rebound and there is just, you know, the liquidations are over, the bounce will come. So, and this is where usually most people, even I've caught myself thinking the same. Like, I look at the price and it looks so fucking scary. What if it keeps dumping? You know, even though it tells you that usually when you're scared, that's the time to buy. Yeah, that is the time to long, and vice versa. And I've made these mistakes so many times, and even in the past year, I've made some mistakes. Psychology. That's why having money come in is just so important.
As you said, like making those mistakes even now, again, it's in terms of feeling, in terms of the emotion side, it's so much more dissipated in comparison to if you didn't have income, if you didn't have that such large income from other sources taken away. And I think it's a huge point, because I get it in terms of why trading might be the first thing that you look at. But I always say the same thing, like look at other ways, especially because of like when you started, there weren't as many options online. Yes. Compared to now.
Right now it's easier. Yeah.
It's so much easier. As you already mentioned, there's like 5 or 6 things you can list off just in 2 seconds. While back then there really was not those options, which is it's a blessing and a curse, right? The curse side, as we've already mentioned, like the image, the social media side that gets promoted, it can create false expectations. But the blessing is that everyone gets a choice of what they choose to do, which is phenomenal. When starting out with social media, what was your thought process? What were you trying? Did you have any sort of goals of where you wanted to go to? Or was it something you weren't as natural to and you had to sort of train yourself to get used to?
If you look at my older videos, my YouTube channel, like one first video came out 3-4 years ago. It's horrible. I cannot put 2 words together. It was a 12-minute video about my biography and what I've done as a trader in my life. And it took me like 2 days to film it, when normally like a 12-minute video currently takes me 12 minutes. Because I just sit, I understand the topic, I don't need the script, I speak. It's just because I've made thousands of videos, thousands of them. Like on YouTube alone, like 1,300 videos just on YouTube.
Wow.
So that's why you kind of, whenever you're trying to take yourself to the next level, regardless of whatever it is, it might be a relationship, maybe it is getting abs, maybe it is making money, becoming a trader, or launching a business, or whatever it is. Normally, your point B is never precisely exactly clear. You might understand the steps to it, but it's always going to be the unknown. So the same thing with social media. A lot of people think, oh, I'm such an introvert, I cannot make videos, just because, I've mostly the real reason is that they've never done it. They don't know how it's like, what it's like. And initially me, I don't have that many friends. I'm a very close person. I have friends, but they're like very, very vetted, and like we have our own community, and that's about it. And I've never been a person who is outgoing, a clown, making people laugh or anything like that. I was always quite serious. And that I thought initially is going to be in a way of my success on social media. But then as I started understanding the algorithms a little bit, and I started understanding what people are actually genuinely interested in, how to trigger them, how to actually provoke emotion in the first 3 seconds in a video, I don't always do it. I just sometimes make whatever video I want. But if I really want to make something viral, I can, just because I understand how human brain works and how the algorithm of social media responds to the same thing.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say here is a very long answer to your question, but I always try to give as much detail as possible. Everything is always a work in progress, regardless of what you do. Like right now, we're building Event Horizon, which even at the current stage, the valuation is close to $100 million. We started 6 months ago, did we really know exactly what to do? I have no fucking idea what we're doing. But as long as you set yourself out there, you make yourself uncomfortable, that you need to keep up, you need to keep doing things, you will find solutions. You will find the people who will find the solutions. And if not, then those people will be looking. And it works like this in a cycle. So that's why don't ever be scared of anything, and just follow your dreams.
To take the action. Because I think a lot of people hold themselves back because of fear of failure, fear of thinking of other people's opinions. I think is a big one. And I think a huge one that I've noticed when I speak to people, because a lot of people ask me, at this point, at the beginning, no one really would say anything at all. Now you're at a certain place, as you can imagine, they start saying like, oh, how do I get into social media, or wherever it may be. And I always just say, just start. And they're always waiting for the perfect time. They always think
there is no perfect time.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. That's why even with our project now, it's a big risk for us, but we were thinking, okay, even I had this thought, let's wait for another year. We can save up a bit more money, because we wanted to have like a safety pad of at least $20-30 million, which for me at the time was difficult to provide. So we're thinking maybe we should just take the time. But then when we analyze the market, if you do something in terms of the cycles for crypto, especially, you do it fucking now. You figured this shit out and you just do it. So that's why we just set out. We shook hands and we were like, let's go. And we just started. And that's how all the best things happen, really. If you start worrying about all the possible, even objective reasons why something might not work, you will never do shit ever. Because you will always find a reason why something is crazy. But remember, you gotta be fucking crazy to be not in the 99%. So it is actually a good thing. And it's fun. So
100%. Just to take it back quickly, in terms of the trading portion of your journey, starting from $15,000, obviously through that process, just from the trading alone, the scaling, of seeing different risk sizes, different profit sizes, different contracts or lots or whatever it may be. How did you handle that? Was there anything that helped you to start adjust? Was there ever a ceiling that you reached where you sort of had some resistance at? Statistically, you have better odds of climbing Mount Everest than making consistent money from trading. Now imagine you're given a book on how to climb Mount Everest. It's written by someone who's done it, or you can train in person with someone who's climbed it themselves. If your life depended on it, which would you choose? That's the difference between information and implementation. This is why most trading courses fall short. They provide knowledge but lack real-world application. The Smart Trading Blueprint, founded by Casper SMC, is different. Not only do you learn the strategy Casper used to scale his trading to 6 figures a month, but you also get to sit with him live as he calls out trades in real time. This isn't just theory. Casper walks the talk live every day. He wasn't always successful. Casper once blew accounts like many of you, but after simplifying his approach, he's not only become a successful trader, he's retired his parents, helped hundreds of others do the same. Casper is so confident in this system, he guarantees you'll become a funded trader, no matter your experience level. Spots are limited, so click the link to apply now.
Yes. So initially, when I started, I didn't really care much about those 15,000. I still had psychological issues with trading because it was my last money and all that, but I had this dream of $1 million. So, and I would not be okay with making 10% even a month on those 15K, because that's my living even back in Latvia was close to like the same amount per month, because utilities, food, a girlfriend, this, that, like you cannot do shit. And then if you make even 10% a month, you're going to be just standing the same place. I have a friend that a distant relative, he's an amazing trader. He's very conservative, so he doesn't do any degen type of trading. So he's mainly portfolios, some futures, maybe some options, and he's making decent 30-40% a year for the last 12 years. But do you think he's rich? No. Why? Because he has a lot of expenses, and his portfolio is just not compounding. It is not growing. So I've seen it, and I just didn't want to be the same. And he's not into social media. He's like, I told him you got to start doing something, and then he ended up helping me with Kralow Capital and stuff. So he's actually working with this a little bit. But anyway, so for me, I think that the most important part was when I started as like a degen trader. For me, the objective was to risk it, but to at least have a chance to make it. So that's why I said I was quite lucky in a way. But my trading looked in a very simple format. I was just, in terms of my risk management, I never risked more than 1 or 2% per trade. I will always take a risk to reward at least 2-to-1, 3-to-1, just basic RM. I had other parts of my strategy, but mostly I would not, I didn't do stupid trades like 30% risk, because that is something that you will lose. 99.999% you will lose everything if you do some stupid shit. Even if you do 5% risk per trade, you will still probably lose everything. Very good chance. So the only way for me, I saw that, okay, if I'm going to be 100 times wrong in a row, I'll blow my deposit and all the money I had to my name. So, but this led me also to a slight limit of possible potential. And there's people who got lucky in trading and then turned 15K into 200K in 2 weeks, especially in crypto. If the market is pumping, they're on time, they're just lucky in a way. But this is just not realistic. So for me, I just limited the risk, and it was just a journey of years, or just bit by bit, very systematically. Initially, when I started, in the first month, I lost almost all of the money. I was down 10K. I had 4,000 left. So the reason why was because of same overtrading, and even I had a rule that if I have 3 losses in a row, and these are all basic rules, but they really helped me. Because if I had 3 losses in a row, just according to my statistics, that I've been always keeping statistics of every single trade, and not just time of entry, time of exit bullshit. It was 15 different deep parameters, and about trends, and about market conditions, and some stuff was not quantifiable, some stuff was quantifiable. So oftentimes, and I looked at the numbers, and what I've noticed, for example, throughout 1,000 trades, which again, to make any kind of conclusion, you got to have a shit ton of trades, especially if you're a day trader. So, and I've noticed that oftentimes, if I go against a certain trend in a certain time frame, I'd have more probability of losing. So I would just remove that from my trading. I've noticed that on Fridays, I overall lose money. And it was just psychology, because Friday is almost Saturday. And since you've been working for fucking 12 hours a day, and maybe sometimes even to lose money, Friday is hard, for me at least. So, and I've seen so many things in my trading statistics that helped me to adjust, that normally people don't even notice in their trading. And especially also I've noticed that if I had 3 losses in a row in a trading day, I would stop trading. Because on average, if I continued to trade without this rule, I'd on average have 7 losses in a row, and normally it would be on average a losing day. So I would just stop at 3. Why 3? Because my numbers told me 3. So that's this is also very basic stuff, but just giving you the concept of what I was looking at. And because of these, all the smallest intricacies in my strategy and proper approach to proper TA and proper fundamentals and proper liquidity and this and level 2 market data, especially for day trading. So that's the tape, that's also the order book, that's the real live data, not just trading blind off of a level. You just got to look at the heart of the market, which is not always helpful because there is things like icebergs and all that is just unidentifiable or fake. Or sometimes you just don't see a sudden order come in, something huge just of a trader who is just dumping something and they don't give a shit about anything. So, and then all of your entire plan just fucking crumbles. And then the market panics and it creates a saw, and you're an idiot trading it. So you need to be, that's why there is so many rules that go into play into proper strategy. But with this, slowly, it was crazy ups and downs still. Still, there would be times in the market when you do everything correct and it just fucks you. Endlessly, like at every single turn, every single trade, it just is. It seems like you click the button and it really just does the same second the opposite. And sometimes you're almost laughing hysterically, saying that I'm gonna just trade the opposite. And then you start making stupid shit because you actually tried to trade the opposite. So it's just retarded, and it's not the smartest thing. So and this whole entire journey was quite painful, but the market was quite on my side back in those years. And I was more long biased and sometimes more short biased, depending on market conditions. And actually, I did catch those overall tendencies correctly. And I was able to adjust my strategy, smallest parameters and tweaks to my strategy because of my findings in my ongoing constant statistics and just evaluation of my performance. So, and even then, I barely made it. And then, first million came in 3 years. So, yeah.
It's good to hear that in terms of taking 3 years to reach that first million, which is still an incredible feat in itself, right? And
yes,
social media wise might say, that's not, it should have been a year, should have been 6 months. But in reality,
show me your Bugatti if you're so good at trading.
in terms of
unless you sell courses.
But in terms of the 6th day, I remember you mentioning earlier, the 6th day on the Saturday, you would do the things that were necessary, like going over the statistics, learning the strategies and how to optimize. How important is that as a trader, but also as an entrepreneur as well, to optimize and to review your data, your work, your performance?
I can tell you that throughout the years, I have 2 answers to it. The answer from old me and the answer from new me. Let me give you first the answer from my old me. I think that I've always thought that what is the most important is the strategy itself and everything that surrounded trading itself. So certainly it is analysis of your, honestly, sometimes when the market is just choppy and you use something stupid like a strategy of MACD and stochastic or RSI, VWAP, whatever, you can sometimes make money even from that. MACD crosses, there is a divergence, you long. There is a convergence, whatever, you short. And sometimes there will be the market conditions when the market is really just floating and you can make money like this. And there's been people who really made life-changing wealth in this way. But what I found out is that I was never the luckiest person, so I actually had to work for everything. So, and for me, this approach with very deep statistics actually gave longevity to my trading career. So outside of the scope of being lucky for a short period of time, you need to be lucky long-term. And here you can actually make your own luck in a way. Certainly you can still be unlucky, generally. But when you're keeping your proper statistics and you're so in tune with yourself as a person and with your performance in trading, I wouldn't say that it's going to swing your result by, 50% performance-wise. But if, let's say, your average success rate is 40%, using proper stuff like this could get you up to 47. So it's not going to be huge, but 7% is enough to sometimes swing you from negatives to positives. Over a long term. But this is answering from my older self. My new self can actually add more to this. What I would add to this is developing yourself and becoming the best version of yourself in every sense of the word. Because if you're doing something that you're trying to outcompete 90% of people and go beyond 90% of people's patience, regardless of what it is you were trying to achieve in your life, you need to be balanced in every sense of the word. So myself, I am deeply into spirituality. Like I've learned what it really happiness means, state of love, happiness, and gratitude. That you can actually at any given time summon the feeling of bliss, the moment, and happiness. And then you kind of distract your mind from the everyday problems. And so you actually become more stress resilient. As Jeff Bezos has so many times said, that it's all about mostly stress resistance. If you can go beyond the threshold of the patience of the 90% of the people, you will make it regardless of the industry, as long as it makes sense, the industry. So this is the biggest thing. So for me, as a trader, mindset, like especially right now, is everything. Next thing is your nutrition, your sleep, and your fitness level, and so many other things that, quite frankly, I've been bewildered by some of the medical facts I've learned in the past, where like Dr. Daniel Amen has created a study in 2020 with 20,000 subjects where he analyzed cognitive ability and cross-examined it with the level of body fat in people. And he actually concluded that more body fat you have because of metabolism issues and other stuff, you're actually dumber than you could be. So your cognitive ability declines if you're not fit, slightly. But see, that is the thing of becoming the best version of yourself. It might seem a bit cynical, but this is the reason why I work out every day. I control what I eat tremendously. I control my insulin. I study my body incredibly deep. Like I have different spiritual guides. I've spent close to $300,000 in different courses, education, mentorships. One of my coaches alone was $75K a year.
Wow.
Incredible guy. So deep. And he really removed all my limiting beliefs. He cleansed me, that I was able to become who I am today. So in my opinion, having an edge in anything you do, maybe if we're talking about trading, it is useful, but also by like 5%. At the end of the day, it's not going to be like you're going to be a superhuman. No, it's going to take you a lot of fucking effort for those 5%, but those 5% can make you better than, it's the edge, but it's hard work. So, but that's what I would say, that it would be in combination. Like I work on every single aspect of your life, even you're a woman, for example. I've derived, like my wife has been a nuclear power station in terms of energy and support. And I've always been feeding that nuclear power station because I knew that this, as a man, you know, we connected so well that we are beyond marriage. We are united on some incredible extraterrestrial level. And that gave me so much power to achieve results in every single regard of my life that just propelled me further. And it's all comes in combination. If, for example, you have everything great and you're taking care of yourself, but for example, your relationship with your mother is not fantastic, it can affect your decision making. And you know, until you make unconscious conscious, it will dictate your path and you will call it fate. So that's why being so self-aware, and you know, when we became sentient and you know self-aware as human beings, this was the biggest gift and probably the biggest curse for the universe as well, for the world as well. But we need to use that. And being self-aware and actually being inside rather than outside. And then everything that is on the outside, just speaking very metaphorically, but it actually is becoming a lot easier because you have an edge.
Well, I loved what you said in terms of old self and new self.
Yeah.
Because I think that concept is something that's fascinating. I think a lot of people are very resistant to change, maybe because they've never experienced change. But I was watching one of your videos recently, and you were mentioning you had a cigar box on the shelf, and you were like, you know, I used to love cigars. Now I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do any of that.
I still smoke them though.
They're good. But what I was getting at though is like, what has that been like throughout your journey, even from like maybe even younger years to now, and even now, like that killing of your old self so that your new self can be born, like, or the new person who's needed for you to continue to progress. Because a lot of people who find success, because most people don't, obviously most people don't put work in the first place, so they never actually find success. But a lot of the people who do end up getting complacent, and they never change and never evolve past that point, and then they end up just flatlining and falling off. But of course you haven't done that. You've been around for a long period of time, you have amassed serious amounts of wealth and continue to hit success after success. I'm sure there's some failures in there as well. But to get through those, you've had to change and adapt. And how important has that been to continue to be successful?
You know, I'm very happy for all the failures I had, because I've always been a firm believer that it's not the idiot who makes mistakes. It is the idiot is the one who repeats them constantly. That's the idiot. You know, you get screwed by the government. You have your rights taken away, and you're standing there like a fucking donkey and saying, "Yeah, great." You know, this you gotta be actually a bit more self-sufficient than that. So, and to be in this way, you have to recognize, even if you've made mistakes before, it's fine. I mean, us as human beings, back in the day, especially if you're not born with the golden spoon up your ass, you know, you really have to figure shit out for yourself. Nobody's going to come out there and give you anything. And even if they do, it doesn't still guarantee anything. So it is all about you. And for me, it's always been a big battle with myself because, to be honest, I've had a big, I can also send you, we can even edit the pictures on the screen here. And then I can send you later on if you want old pictures of me where I was an alcoholic. You could see like my face was bloated. I was drinking almost every single day, and to the point of losing consciousness, of driving drunk. I was arrested once for drunk driving, so it was a DWI, driving while intoxicated, which I'm not happy about at all. But it was my past, and it just happened. And I think that one of the reasons why I was drinking and smoking, I smoked like a pack or two a day of cigarettes. Wow. I was 120 kilos. I didn't feel good. I couldn't run a fucking mile. And I was 22, 21, like before I met my wife. So, and my life, even though I was already into trading and, you know, bad times in trading also contributed to more drinking, it was a shit show. And to be honest, like I thought I'm going to die. Honestly, like I can show you some of the older pictures, you will not believe it's me. It's a different person. Like even the face is different. Like you can see that there is no life in those eyes just because they're all gone in something ridiculous like alcohol. Thank God I've never tried drugs because I'd probably not be here today. I would not be able to cope with it just because I'm so prone to addiction. But throughout the years, took me a while to realize that you need to quit. And a lot of people kind of understand it, but they don't realize it deep down. Because if you realize it, you can, like, I quit smoking cigarettes in one day. I just stopped. So like all this bullshit about, you can replace it. Like if you really want, you just stop. So if you can stop, then you're weak. And I was weak too. So I'm not saying that people are weak. Like I'm very weak when it comes to addictions. I don't know why. It's just my character.
I'm the same, yeah.
So, and for me, it was incredibly difficult, but I remember this feeling when you're like, this is it. Like when you really want it, then you can do anything. That's why, like, same thing with business. You can figure it out. It's going to take you a while. You'll have to persevere. You'll have to enjoy the fucking pain, as Andrew Tate would say. But he's so correct about it because you have to work on your happiness as you go. Like I always advocate for not pushing beyond your psychological limits and not becoming miserable in the process. But there will be painful times, and it depends on just how you react to them. So for me, with alcohol, and how I was able to just quit it, for me, and like this entire journey, because it takes a lot of effort to really try to perfect everything you do every single day, regardless if it's Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, if it's night, morning, I don't care. I'm lost in time. I'm just doing. So to get to this point is you need to start to genuinely love it. If you don't love the hassle, if you don't love risk, me, like if you look at my bank account, you'll think I'm poor. I've got like $20,000 in it. I have millions of dollars in Bitcoin and altcoins, and of course I have a couple of cars, watches, some millions of dollars are in that. But generally, like I don't have any dollars unless it's USDT for trading, and so it's all just degent into crypto. So for me, and I kind of love it. Because when the market is on my side and I'm so allocated, Bitcoin moves 5K, I can buy 2 Rolls Royces from a dealership. So it feels great. But you need to love it. And then when you love it and you start to work hard and you go beyond this threshold of basic, drop off of people when they go to the gym. When you initially hit the gym, you feel the pain in the muscles, you see weight go away very fast, but it's not weight, it's water. And then when water goes away in the first week and you lost like 2, 3, 4, 5 kilos and you're like, oh my God, and you expect it to continue like this. And then it doesn't because reality kicks in. This is where 90% of people drop off. So when you go past this threshold and then you actually start seeing real results and you actually fucking love it, and the push and the kick and the high that you get from this success is greater than the pain you had to endure to get to it. So it's an even trade-off and it makes you intrinsically happy. This is when it becomes you. You become it. You don't pretend anymore. it's your lifestyle. You're not trying to correct your course. You are the course when you love it. And when you feel like it's your thing. Like, I didn't like to go to the gym, but now recently, you know, I'm starting to see abs and nice, really muscles, even though I'm not doing any like steroids. If I did steroids, I'd be fucking 2 by 2 by, 2 by 2 by now. So, and I didn't see results for a long time, but now when I see these results, because of fasting, because of proper nutrition, like some partly carnivore diet that I am pretty crazy about all this shit, working out every day, 10,000 steps every day, and you start to seeing these results, you start to enjoy the pain. Mm-hmm. And when you start to enjoy that pain, this is where you're bettering yourself every single day. And even failures, they make you better. So like from all the things that I've lost money on in terms of trading or business, I've had many different companies, most failed. I've learned that, and because of these failures and experiences, I was able to run a 200 people enterprise right now that is even Event Horizon with a valuation of close to $100 million. So at 30 years old. Just because, but it didn't happen overnight. It was a journey of 10 fucking years of opening the door one after the other, falling down, standing up, laughing at yourself, maybe crying a little bit, and then walking again further and further, and you just keep opening up the doors.
I love that. And I think it's so important, as you said, that to love the process itself, because I think people coming into trading and entrepreneurship, of course, a big focus is the money, and I get it because of the position they may be in when they're starting. But very quickly, they don't forget that. They just focus purely on the money. And if there's no passion or love for what you're doing, I just don't think it will go anywhere, like, especially with trading or investing. It's like, if you're only focused on money, what happens when you make a bad trade or a bad investment and you lose money? What's going to keep you in the game? What's going to keep you going? Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about the best trading tool on the market, TradeZeller. The reason why TradeZeller is the #1 trading tool that every trader needs is because you can do backtesting, automated journaling, trade replay, in-depth analytics, and so much more. And the greatest part about TradeZeller is that it's all automated. All you have to do is connect your MT4 and MT5. It will pull all your data onto the dashboard. You can add playbooks. You can just add notes. You can add images from your trades, and you can get the insights that is necessary for you to progress as a trader. Now, TradeZeller is for absolutely everyone. Whether you're a crypto trader, whether you're a Forex trader, whether you trade prop firms, it is for absolutely everyone. And that is why thousands of traders have signed up using my link here through the podcast. Make sure you use the code RIZ10 for 10% off your monthly subscription, or WOR for 20% off your yearly subscription. The link is in the description below. And let's get back to the episode.
That's hard. For me, oftentimes, like, because I've been investing in crypto for the last 5 years, I've been through the previous bear market, and I remember looking at my portfolio and seeing minus 70% on it, even more at some points. And I remember I had this incredible feeling on the inside, especially after I read the Bitcoin white paper and also all the extra documents to it as well, because the white paper is not long, but if you look at all the added documents, it's like almost 200 pages of stuff. Most of which I didn't understand, but I really wanted to dig a bit deeper into it. And once I realized that the core differences between blockchain and cryptography and Bitcoin, for that matter, and fiat currencies and the history of fiat currencies, and all you need to do to understand that is just read the book Changing World Order by Ray Dalio, and you will get a very good understanding of what I'm talking about. So, and when you compare those two worlds, holding dollars becomes painful. It seems like it's risk-free. You know, you got $1 million in the bank, you feel good. I don't, right now, when I have $1 million just sitting and doing nothing, I feel bad, because I know how much money they're printing and how much money in this cycle they're about to print. It's insane. So I think that inflation is going to get out of hand very soon, and people, like, this wealth gap is going to keep widening simply because the rich understand what to do with money to sustain the situation with the inflation. Poor are too fucking lazy to learn this shit, which is not rocket science. You can actually protect yourself against inflation at any level, and it's not rocket science. You don't need to do day trading for that. So, and that is, in my opinion, something that has also just transpired into this general result in of itself. So,
I think that's what's fascinating about it, is that you can learn so much. There's so many layers. It doesn't matter whether you're in crypto, or whether you're in Forex or futures or just general investing or real estate. Like, you can find an avenue where learning about money and how it's used and how to better yourself as an individual, regardless of the avenue. as you just pointed out. And as you said, it's not rocket science. It's just taking the time to just learn it. And I think that's where, again, the struggle comes in for most people, because they're not willing to go outside the norm. They're not willing to break away in any form.
I was always wondering why that is. And I've been analyzing myself too, because I see that in so many people, even haters online. I don't give a shit about what they say, honestly. But sometimes I read comments, mostly my team takes care of them, but I sometimes see such ridiculous comments that it makes me wonder who writes this. Like, how limited are you? And the question is, why? I mean, all that you need really at any given level in your life to gain motivation to do things is just simply realizing that you could have a different life. And for that, go to Instagram. Just, I don't know, get yourself a ticket to Dubai. Come to a restaurant where you'll see that. I've seen once, I came a Bugatti Veyron and I felt great. Then I remember a situation, I see a Bugatti Chiron pull up, and I feel a bit poorer. But I was like, okay. Then what happened next was just astonishing. There was a guy pulling up in Bugatti Divo right behind the Chiron. And the Divo is like $8, $9, $10 million.
Wow.
So that's like 2-3 Chirons. So there is levels to this fucking game. And all you gotta do is realize that there is this game and that you are no different from most other motherfuckers who are in this game, maybe even dumber than you, doing 10 times more than you. Why is the question you should ask yourself.
What's it like, obviously, going from your starting position, right, to now having collected all these different accolades? As you mentioned, you got the mansion, you have the cars, you have the watches, you have everything. And we talked about, like, there's different levels as well. But what does it do for you? Is it the actual thing itself, or is it more so knowing that you have access to it, knowing that you've worked hard for it? What does it do for you? And what would you say if all that was to go away, but you still had everything else that you mentioned already, the health, the family, what would be more important to you on the scale?
For me, everything is important. But I think I know where your question is coming from. And I've had a lot of my friends from around me, they see the amount of work I've done to get to where I am today. And they kind of realized that maybe they could try and follow my path. But since they communicate with me and they're asking me sometimes questions, they understand how long it is. And oftentimes people are just not interested in it because they are actually happy where they are. They're like, okay, do I need to really break my back for the next few years, 12 hours a day just to become a millionaire? For some people, it doesn't matter. And it's fine. Because at the end of the day, what matters is you being happy. If you're genuinely happy working your blue-collar job, or whatever, you have a union job somewhere in New Jersey or whatever, and you're working on the shipyard, and you just come home to a happy family, to your kids that are happy and they have food on the table, you got a house, and you're genuinely just kicking back and just saying, fuck, amazing life. Good for you. I wasn't that lucky. For me, it's not just about money. It's not about buying a Bugatti yacht or these are attributes. These are just the result. And then when you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, there's a $2 million car, you kind of wanted it and it's kind of good for marketing. You talk to your team, like, how can we monetize it so that we squeeze out as much as possible? Plus, you kind of want it, you just go for it. Because even like all we do, like the more money I spend, the more money I make. Just more because people watch this content. People want to consume it. Like even if you look most of the time when it's a technical, boring 10-minute but very useful video, barely any engagement. As soon as you're saying how much does it cost to change tires on a Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport, fuck, 3 million views, So it's just, that's what people look at.
Yeah.
So that's why, I always was trying to combine those things with monetization, and I make money off of everything. That's my trait, this is basic financial literacy. Even with the Bugatti, I got it a bit below market price. So once the market rebounds, I'll probably make $500,000 to $1 million profit on a car.
Wow.
So it's also, I keep all that in mind when I do things. But generally speaking, it doesn't really give me the sense of happiness. Sense of happiness is given to me by my family. It is my turtle that I love so much. I love the turtle so much. It's incredible. Like a small, I paid like $25 for the fucking thing. We love it so much. It's like a kid. We're working on having kids now, so it's a lengthy process to do everything properly and preparedness. So we're gonna soon have kids. But like this turtle is incredible, and it gives me sometimes more love and joy than a $2 million Bugatti Veyron that me and Cristiano Ronaldo has. Because Ronaldo has or had the same color combination. This light gray with red interior. So it's cool to like, it's all, show off Instagram. But at the end of the day, it's not the only thing that makes you happy. But what does make me happy that it kind of is connected to material things is progress. Because for the most part, if you have taste and lavish lifestyle desires, these attributes, they will just come along and they will just show your progress. Because if you've come from nothing and you've been, as myself, at some point I had $20 to my name and I had to pay rent in New York. And I remember that time. And when you see really how far you've come in the last 10 years, I feel good. It's not for everyone, but it contributes to, it's not the only reason why I'm happy, genuinely happy, but it contributes to it.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. One thing off the back of that, though, in terms of financial literacy, were you always financially literate? Like when you go back to the $20 and having to pay rent?
I was as dumb as a shoe. There was my English was also not the best, and it's been an interesting journey where I've made also a bunch of mistakes. It's like I didn't think about tomorrow. I went to school, so I was distantly in a fog thinking of my future. Yeah. But it was such a limited way of thinking, and for me, all I cared about was getting drunk with hot chicks after I flipped a few iPhones and making sure I pay for my rent, my textbooks, and my school, and help my mother to pay for it. And I was just living not day by day, but maybe like month by month. Like right now, I'm living in the next 20 years. Like I have everything mapped out. So, but previously it wasn't like this. Nothing is. Even going to the gym. Initially you go to the gym, you think, oh, fuck having a coach, it's all a scam, buying courses is a scam, blah, blah. And then you spend 2 years working out, stressing your heart out, doing extra bullshit work that is not even necessary. When I started working out with my coach, he's like, do you know you don't need to do abs? Like, what do you mean I don't need to do abs? I want to have abs. He's like, you're gonna still have abs. All you gotta do is lose fucking weight. You can do abs maybe like once a week. And I used to do abs 3 times a week. No fucking result. So you're doing more, thinking, oh, I'm going to save money on a coach. But at the end, you just waste your life. So, yeah, it's like this with everything. So,
is there any financial principles you could share with the audience, maybe who are in that position of the early days? Anything in particular from, I don't know, savings or tracking or anything that stands out to you that's important?
Basic financial literacy is important. Understanding the market in general and how price forms, not just in, some forex pairs. I'm talking about general market. Like a lot of the people, they're making $5,000 a month, which is not bad, all things considered, depending on where they live. A lot of them, what do? They go and buy a brand new car, and they pay, $1,000 a month or 2,000. Like some people pay half of their salary for a brand new BMW 7 Series 760i just to show off their fucking neighbors. And then 3 years later, that piece of shit isn't even worth 40% of what it was initially worth. And you're still paying the same amount every single month. So how many cars do you think I had that were absolutely brand new? 1. And even back in the day when I made my first million, I bought myself a car. I paid 35,000 euro for it with cash. And it was a Mercedes CL63, which was like at that time was already pretty like 2007 year model it was. So it was already like 7 years old. I could have gone and bought myself a brand new Rolls Royce, which is what most people would do with no financial literacy and no patience. So this is, I think, just core basic shit. Like if you're not making much money, you want a car, you can buy maybe a used Land Cruiser instead of the 7 Series. You will still pay a lot of money per month, but if you really wanted to do it, but at least you will get something that holds the value, maybe G-Class. Or think about it. Don't buy a brand new 5 Series for $120,000 that is going to be worth $30K in 4 or 5 years. Basic financial literacy. If you're buying watches, study watches. Don't buy a Hublot at a store. It's like you buy it for $30K, you go out, it's like fucking $18K. So buy things that have a tendency of appreciating. How to learn that? Just pay attention to the market. Be interested. And the same thing when it goes. I'm not really a believer in, don't go to Starbucks unless you're really barely making your ends meet. Then you need to really evaluate what the hell you're spending your money on, like especially alcohol, drinks, parties, and all this bullshit. But I never really focused much on this. I never was focused primarily on economy. I was more focused on how can I make more.
Yeah.
Where is that scale? I didn't care. Of course, I was still trying to be financially responsible. I didn't do stupid shit, mostly. But I was always more focused rather than, spending energy on the thoughts of how can you, I don't know, save a few bucks per month.
Yeah.
It's not going to really change much for you long term. So how to make that money. So I'd be more focused on just finding cash flow and building it.
Definitely. Now, just to reflect on that quickly, like as you mentioned earlier about the Bugatti, for example, but then appreciating assets. But equally, it ties into the very original piece of our conversation, which was the social media. Because with the social media, you can buy some of these assets that even if, let's say, it does depreciate a little bit, it's going to help you to make more income.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And then that synergy there is incredible because as you want to do things you enjoy, so maybe you enjoy cars or travel, you tie it into your business, which then helps. And it's a great ecosystem, which I think that a lot of people don't realize. And even I'm still learning to do better at it in terms of how to structure that ecosystem and maximize that ecosystem as well. And because coming into podcasting, for example, I didn't realize how you can monetize it. I just did it because I enjoyed it. And then I've learned, thanks to my editor, actually, and my team, again, like as you mentioned about teams, it's thanks to them and having different perspectives and opinions, it can be very, very beneficial.
Just as a thought, honestly, just going back and summarizing your question about, what I would do differently, really right now, if you are at any stage of your life and you want to really transform it, really, step number one, start social media. Just go through it. Just fucking start filming something, produce content, show your journey, build cash flow, just show everything you do. It's going to motivate you to actually do it, and it's going to put pressure on you because you've been showing it to the people. And slowly on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, you will start getting attention. People love to see the journey because maybe themselves they're too fucking scared to do it. So they will be watching the journey. And as, for example, you're building your cash flow through high-ticket sales, maybe your affiliate marketing or any kind of arbitrage speculation. And then you show people, okay, I went from nothing within 6 months, I went to making 5 to 10K. Now I'm getting into crypto. And then you can show them how you're scaling it, how you're learning from other people. And then, for example, you get within a year, 2 years, whatever amount of time you get to your first 250,000, 100,000, million, doesn't matter. And then you show, guys, I've showed you the whole journey. Right now, for example, and at that time you will have followers. By that time, you will minimum have 50, 100K followers. Not hard to achieve at all. And you will already learn how to make better and better content. Maybe you'll have a bigger team to help you out because it always starts building on one another really fast. It keeps evolving. And then you can launch an educational product. Maybe a course on financial literacy, course on crypto, course on whatever you've done to change your life. And that is something that is going to give you a 10x upside, possibly, short term, because there is going to be an audience who already watched you and they've seen proof that you've done it, and they will be very happy to pay you $1,000 to learn the intricacies of your journey. So, and here you go, here is $1 million on the table, and it's honest, it's not a scam. You've done it, you've showed it, and then you just packaged it and sold it. So this, and then you can invest more, then you can trade more, and then the bigger you become, the more popular you become, you start to make different connections, you start to meet people, and then hello, you are worth $100 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our two final topics I was wanted to touch on. One was in regards to the hedge fund. Simply because I wanted to reflect. I was watching a podcast you were on, and I found it fascinating how you described it, where you said like actually hedge fund trading or like managing that hedge fund versus retail trading. And how you said like actually the retail trading is much harder, much more stressful in comparison. Could you just share with us a bit about that?
Yeah, because normally in hedge funds and institutions that are managing money for other people, they are always bound by things like memorandums and strategies, and you cannot just suddenly go degen 100x leverage into some shitcoin on some DEX or whatever. It just doesn't work like this because you're going to get sued and you could go to jail. Because every single dollar that is invested into the hedge fund is monitored very closely, mostly by investors and then subsequently by authorities if there is anything missing or misappropriated, etc. So this means that we have to abide by certain risk standards, and any kind of leverage trading, futures trading, for the most part is a no-no. Like you cannot even do 10x. It has to be mostly spot. And considering this, our upside is of course limited. And for example, in our portfolio in Kralow Capital, for the most part, we are holding like 50% Bitcoin, 20% ETH, 30% other altcoins, and some of those are being interchanged here in their portfolio rebalancing. So, and our target is just to outperform Bitcoin. And with this kind of strategy, it is close to impossible to lose everything, just unless crypto goes down to zero. And you can still do a big upside on those millions of dollars. like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10x, depending on the market conditions and liquidity. So, this game is actually in the hedge funds. Like once I launched it, to be honest, I was surprised about the amount of operational time that was spent on bullshit rather than actual trading. 95% of the time spent by any hedge fund in terms of operations and what they do is got nothing to do with trading. It's community outreach, it's marketing, it might be whatever else, but trading is like 5% of it. Because for the most part, like if you look at Bill Ackman, he's been in TradFi for so many years, incredible success, incredible story, incredible individual, very deep, and one of the people I would love to meet and shake hands with and exchange a few ideas. He's a person that has been involved in just a couple of companies. He doesn't have a portfolio of 50 million different projects. They are really going deep into them and then just holding. Look at Warren Buffett. He's been holding Coca-Cola and Apple for fucking how long?
Yeah.
So, and then people are saying, oh, well, then why do you invest in the hedge fund if it's so obvious? Because it still is not that obvious, and people don't want to do that themselves. And even with Bitcoin, that's why like a lot of people are saying, oh, then what's the point of your hedge fund if you don't trade actively? Almost no hedge fund trades actively. Like as we know, day trading, they don't do that.
Yeah.
Very rarely with a very small amount of money, just because of the risk to return threshold within certain time horizons. It's very computational, it's very mathematical. And even if they do some of it, it's very highly controlled and it's very different from what retail does. And usually it actually can be quite opposite because they are also on the side of market makers, they're also on the side of insiders, and this is where all the big money is at. So it's two different worlds, absolutely, yeah.
Definitely. And as you were talking about in terms of innovation and sort of change, that brings us to Event Horizon. We're in the headquarters here in Dubai. Absolutely incredible space, incredible building actually. And I was when we were driving up and parking up, we were both looking at the building. Now this is it's like a palace.
It is like a palace. Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
It's incredible. But what can you tell us about Event Horizon? I remember when you first mentioned it on social media, it was very sort of elusive, very prestige. Still feels that way now. I remember seeing, I think it was just yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, John Cena following you in Event Horizon, which is fascinating. And it's just, what can you tell us? What can you share with us?
So Event Horizon is the work of our life, of our entire team. It is because we've been working on so many things. We've built many things. We have big community, and we were really looking at what people need. And I was always dreaming of creating something with the letter B, billion. So that's why Event Horizon potential is far beyond $10 billion in the next 24 months. So for me, it was a no-brainer, all-inner. And so at the end of the day, what it is it's a decentralized financial ecosystem based on its own very unique hybrid DEX. So basically, decentralized exchange. So it's just the foundation, the core of Event Horizon. But in general, it is just an ecosystem where anyone from anywhere in the world can have self-custody, self-sovereignty, freedom, no bullshit, access to any instruments that they want. So it could be futures, it could be spot trading, it can be P2P, debit cards, copy trading, proprietary trading. So if, for example, you want to complete an exam, an honest exam, and actually get money under management from Event Horizon or our liquidity providers, you can do that. If you want to learn how to trade, you want to learn spirituality, nutrition, fitness, and the becoming of the best version of yourself, there is our learning center that is already running separately. So it is like an ecosystem which is based on our own L3. So we're supported by Arbitrum right now. We're building an L3 rollup on Arbitrum, which is going to be our settlement layer for our transactions. And we are connected by it's a hybrid model because the heart of the exchange, its matcher, which is matching engine, which matches the orders, is off-chain. So that's why it's a hybrid model. So because decentralizing the order book is incredibly difficult, issues with liquidity and etc. So, and we found a way to actually create a system which is like a Bybit, Binance, same interface. You connect your ledger, MetaMask, anything you want, our native wallet, and you can trade futures for as much as you want. You can do anything you want in a decentralized way. So in case if even Event Horizon goes down, you can still pull your money off chain just because we are on-chain settlement. So we don't have hot wallets. We don't touch people's money. We don't misappropriate it. And that's because of this also, there is no regulation in this industry. So it gives us 2, 3, 4, 5 year time window to develop. because because of no hot wallets, we are fully decentralized, and it's going to be governed by our governance token. So it is fully governed by our community down the road after the vesting period is over. So that's why it is a fully decentralized financial ecosystem for anywhere around the world, but with no drawbacks of decentralized exchanges. Because normally decentralized exchanges and ecosystems have problems with bridges, with safety, with sometimes even custodial things. They have problems with bridges, with native token gas fee payment bullshit, and other bottlenecks that really remove mass adoption and remove retail. Like DYDX is an example. One of our competitors, they were worth $15 billion at the peak of the market without even a mobile app. Bro, how can you launch an exchange with no mobile app? Yeah. The only thing you can do it for institutionals, big players who don't really trade on the phone. But if you're talking about retail, which mass adoption is retail, it wasn't really indexes and still isn't indexes for many reasons. And we understand those reasons. And we're building a true DEX that actually people need. For retail, I mean. Yeah. So it certainly is also for big traders and institutionals if they want to just be full self-sovereignty, safety, transparency, because every single transaction, every trade, every price is engraved into the chain. So you cannot do bullshit. Like, for example, even our liquidity providers and market makers, they're not going to be able to fuck up the price just because it is on chain. It is not centralized, it's decentralized. So it's a different era and generation of trading and market participation and in general. So, and then down the road, we want to evolve into a launch pad. We want to evolve into different things, so that we're going to have different stuff like maybe even lending and staking and all of that just fully decentralized. And most importantly, user friendly. So there is faster time to market on Event Horizon than on Bybit, than on Binance, and the commissions will be also lower initially than Binance, just because it's our own L3 rollup, which settles, which is the settlement layer, which makes it incredibly cheap for us to process transactions, and it's just as fast as any TradFi instrument.
Would you say this is your biggest sort of challenge and risk yet in terms of business?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
It gives me a lot of power because I do understand what we're doing, how big it is. Like even right now at the pre-seed level, the valuation of $100 million, give or take, we're still closing it, but it's an incredible feeling. But considering that I'm investing millions of dollars myself and some of my partners a tiny bit as well, because I'm not the only one in the company. We have many, many people. Like I own maybe like about 60% of it. Wow. The rest is our C-level, our CTO, CMO, CEO, other founding partners and stuff. So, for me, it is a big challenge because initially, we had marketing, we understand what people need. Yeah. But honestly, building something like this, the tech, putting together a technical team, finding the right technical lead and a CTO, chief technical officer, that was hard. Because oftentimes, you can have the vision, whatever, but building a protocol that is not going to be hacked, that's going to be audited fully, that other big market participants will believe in, that's hard. And competing with billion-dollar companies like DYDX. So therefore, it is a big challenge. But honestly, as I told you actually off camera, that one of my biggest lucky moments in life has always been people. Yeah. Meeting the right people. That's why I have friends in Binance and they actually executives of Binance, and they helped me find the CTO. Actually, they're executives of Binance. They're founders of Bloom. Now, you might know them, Vladimir Smirkis and Kosterov. So Bloom is 70 million users now. So they actually helped me find the CTO. So, and that was something that propelled us further because our team is really the powerhouse. It's the chairman, and then we have 5 to 7 people in the C-level that really are powering the entire thing. So huge challenge, but once it works out, once we go to mainnet in February and we start to go to break even, I think that the feeling, especially when we go beyond the market cap of $1 billion and we are officially a unicorn, that will probably be the moment I'm like, okay, now I can retire. Yeah. So that, of course, I won't. But that is something that I'm looking forward to. The moment when you wake up in the morning and you understand you don't need to go anywhere. Yeah. I mean, for some people, you can make 1 million or like 10, 20 million, and then you kind of think the same way.
Yeah.
For me, I always like, I gotta try what is $1 billion level. Like, if I don't become a billionaire in the next 36 months, I will consider it a failure.
Wow.
So, honestly, because so many things have been put together, so many millions of dollars invested, so much experience, so many failures around the last 10 years, that not making a few $1 billion is a fucking miserable failure. So, and the moment when you realize that you have that kind of money, which you cannot really spend, you know, you would probably start investing in some biotech clinics in China, so, or some fun shit like this, you know, something eternal for the legacy of the family. But just the feeling of getting there and just proving to yourself that you can do it, starting from really a fucking naked ass and nothing but a dick in your hands, that's going to be an interesting feeling. So I want to just figure out what it's going to feel like.
100%. And when you do it, don't forget us. We'll do a part 2. We'll do a part 2 interview then.
100%.
Just to finish off, obviously, I wouldn't, being a trading podcast, obviously being in crypto, it wouldn't feel right if I didn't ask you, like, what are you looking at? Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, we've got, I was about to say Biden, but he's gone. It's Harris and Trump. And you said, obviously, we want Trump in for crypto. But what are your thoughts generally? Obviously, the halving's happened. We're going into 2025. What are you looking at? I've heard you say Bitcoin to 1 million potentially. I think it was quoting Michael Saylor at the time. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Is there anything on your radar? Anything that you're focused on?
Yeah, honestly, I'm focused on my own patience right now because everything has come together. If you look historically, there are people who are looking at unemployment. They're looking at the recession in the U.S. Yeah. They think everything is going to crash. And if you look at the prices, they're so overblown in TradFi that you kind of could agree with the statement. But at the same time, what Michael Burry has done wrong, in my opinion, he was right about it in 2008 and 9 when he shorted the market because of the collapse of the housing market. And he predicted it correctly. And right now we have a worse situation than 2008, and it is obvious. But the difference in liquidity could actually cover for it because there is so much money. It needs to go somewhere. Where is it going to go? Into the fucking market? So even if we're going to have a dip right now, especially with Democrats, they're already losing. Are they going to let the markets crash just to put the last nail into their own coffin? I don't really think so. So they will do whatever is, like Fed already did 50 basis points, which is more than I expected. They're probably going to do another 50 basis points this year before the end of the year. Then, of course, it's not quantitative easing yet, but I don't think it is far off. You know, China is stimulating. The only people who are not stimulating is Japanese right now. So they have increased the interest rates, which actually causes a short-term correction. So as long as they stay put and don't touch the shit anymore, I think that everybody has already pivoted for the most part. So, and everything has always been dependent on money flow, empty money supply, liquidity. And right now we're seeing all of this curve up. So, and it just is inevitable just because of the nature of the fiat system. Unless we go into some World War III, whatever, I'm expecting finally, maybe for another 2, 3, 4 weeks, consolidation, maybe slow down move to kick out fucking the last everyone out of the market, because I don't know who is still in it.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody's like half dead by now. So, and then finally really the move. So, like, it has got to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, if they really, you know, even you look at BlackRock, state of Wisconsin, I think New Jersey, state of Maine, I think, like there's been a few states, state of Wisconsin for sure, that has been buying Bitcoin using their pension fund through the ETF. United States are buying Bitcoin. Larry Finn, $10 trillion asset manager, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum just because it is more infrastructural than any other altcoin. Because of stable coins, because of DeFi, because of so many industry important protocols being on Ethereum. So, and you're seeing this development. And you see support from governments, and it's becoming part of the election now. How can it not go to, okay, million? Of course it's going to go to 1 million, it's just a matter of time. But in this cycle, maybe not, but 200,000, 300,000, it would be just stupid not to see that happen. Considering that even the selling pressure should be ever so slightly less, just because Wall Street doesn't really do shit with an outlook of 6 months. They do it with the outlook of 10 years, 20 years, etc. So considering this, if we don't pump, and if they somehow let the price right, like on Bitcoin, right below 30K again, and Ethereum below like 1,200, these are the points, in our opinion, of no return. It's going to be really hard to recover the market and the current state of things from this kind of ongoing crash. So therefore, I just don't see any possible reasons outside of any black swan event, which is always could
So,
anything,
yeah,
it's
the
always
word.
there. You know,
Yeah.
anything can happen at any given time, and it can fuck up your trading because there is so many peculiar aspects to any given moment in a market that can just fuck up everything. So this is part of being a trader. That's why luck still plays a role.
It's true.
So and yeah, given that, my expectation now is just up. Really, it's been one of the most painful times, especially in Bitcoin. It's okay, but altcoins,
Yeah.
like I don't know who's still left. Like honestly, so that's why if you're still not in, not financial advice obviously, but in my opinion, this is just the time, because historically, looking at every single past experience and liquidity and all this is just one. Unless they really decide to, I don't know, kill everyone and then just put Bitcoin to 20K and then pump it. I don't know why would they do it, because it just will be very, very hard to recover from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's just my take.
I love it. Thomas, thank you for this conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. It's
Thank
been
you very much for
absolute
coming
pleasure.
over.
And again, part 2 when we
Part
hit the
two,
billion.
part two,
Okay.
yes.
Everyone at home, drop a comment of your biggest takeaway. I know there was so much, but your biggest takeaway from this episode. Hit subscribe, hit like. Other episodes will be on screen. And until next time, take care.